Charles, what were the views of Aquinas and Bellarmine on monarchy? Am I correct that they accepted the legitimacy of other forms of government but preferred monarchy? Could we call them monarchists?
No, we'd have to call them American Republicans of about 1920. No, of course. Yes, absolutely. You're quite correct, and we could call them monarchists. Certainly, they believed that monarchy was the superior form of government, and this was true. I mean, they believed that the best kind of monarchy is a mixed monarchy. That is to say, with king, commons, and lords. Um,
I thought that's interesting. That's new because everyone who cites that part of I think Aquinas, they assume he's talking about a democracy or a republic.
he's not. In fact, what he's doing is enlarging, as he does in a lot of areas, on Aristotle. And Aristotle, and this is kind of a funny thing to my way of thinking. Aristotle declared that there were three legitimate forms of government and three sort of parodies, evil versions of them. The three quote unquote good kinds were monarchy, aristocracy, ruled by a group of good,
Mm-hmm.
honorable people, and what he called polity, which was ruled by the majority of stakeholders, so to speak. That is to say, property owners, veterans. In other words, it wasn't, democracy was the opposite of polity because it was mob rule, in his estimation. The evil twin of aristocracy was oligarchy, and the evil twin of monarchy was tyranny or despotism.
Hmm.
But of the three by themselves, he taught that monarchy was the best, but really the best was a mixed government that partook of all three, of the three good kinds of government.
That sounds like
Uh,
America.
Not exactly, although we have done something that Aristotle never foretold.
What?
We were able to create a system that we live under today that does combine three forms of government, only not the first three, but the second three. And Aristotle never talked about combining tyranny, oligarchy, and mob rule, but we've managed to do that.
Hmm.
And so Aquinas spoke about mixed government, Bellarmine speaks about mixed government, but they all mean the best kinds. No political theorist that I ever heard of ever came up with a mixed government combining the worst, the features of the worst three.
Well, isn't that just the three corrupted versions that I mean, wasn't America founded on the three good versions and then it just got corrupted?
Well, that was the intention anyway, and that it be founded on the three good ones. But you got to bear in mind, the presidency was somewhat based on the British monarchy as they conceived it to run, but not really. And of course, they obviously, by appointing Electoral College and all that, had something in mind like the Holy Roman Emperor. Remember that initially the electors were not supposed to be simply the creatures of party politics and voting. The electors, if you read the Constitution, the electors choose the president, just the way the College of Electors in the Holy Roman Empire did. The whole apparatus of having the Electoral College follow the popular vote, it's not in the Constitution.
Hmm.
It's custom.
Okay.
And that, but see, there's also no provision for how the electors are going to be chosen either. So,
Okay.
let's just say that there was a lot of loophole to ride through.
Got it. Okay, I'm going to barrage everyone with a bunch of quotes from Aquinas and Bellarmine, quotes which I feel are almost totally ignored by anyone who is by everyone who has looked for Aquinas' opinion on democracy and monarchy, and Bellarmine's as well. I haven't seen these quotes cited at all.
Are these the quotes where they explicitly endorse the U.S. Constitution?
No, actually, kind of the opposite,
Oh,
as you will see. All
okay.
right. So let's start with Aquinas in his work De Regno, which is available online. It's public domain, and English translation is available online. If you just look it up, you can find these quotes. The strongest objection why monarchy, although it is the best form of government, is not agreeable to the people is that, in fact, it may deviate into tyranny. Yet tyranny is wont to occur not less but more frequently on the basis of a polyarchy than on the basis of a monarchy. It follows that is, in any case, more expedient to live under one king than under the rule of several men. And the way De Regno is structured, he makes these arguments in this fashion where he concludes why monarchy is best at the end of every paragraph. Let's see here. Just as the government of a king is the best, so the government of a tyrant is the worst. That's another one. And then here's another one. For democracy stands in contrary opposition to polity, since both governments are carried on by many persons, as is clear from what has already been said, while oligarchy is the opposite of aristocracy, since both governments are carried on by a few persons, and kingship is the opposite of tyranny, since both are carried on by one person. Now, as has been shown above, monarchy is the best government. If, therefore, it is contrary of the best that is worst, it follows that tyranny is the worst kind of government. Again, we have Aquinas saying quite clearly, in bold, all caps, monarchy is the best government. And I don't have the quote in front of me, but it's another important quote from Aquinas in this work, where he says that when a government devolves into tyranny, monarchy is the worst, because
the corruption of the best is the worst.
Yeah. But why he prefers monarchy is that polyarchy inevitably always devolves into tyranny. It always degenerates. And I feel that history has proven Aquinas right on his hypothesis here.
Over and over again.
So it's strange to me when we apply Aquinas to the American Revolution and we say, okay, we are going to remove a tyrant, and in order to remove a tyrant, we have to install a republic. My question is why? Especially given that Aquinas here is saying that a republic is always going to degenerate into tyranny. Why is it unacceptable to install a good king to replace a bad king? And I feel why people say this is because they believe inherently that monarchy lends itself to tyranny, and that republics lend itself to what's the good version?
The republics lend themselves to aristocracy.
Aristocracy, I guess, yeah.
Or polity.
Or polity. There we go.
And the problem too, of course, is the presumption that George III was really a tyrant.
That too.
And that, a big part of the Anglo-American mythos is that James II was a tyrant and George III was a tyrant. And for the sake of freedom, they had to go. But then you examine them carefully and you say, well, wait a minute, whose freedom? Freedom to do what? Freedom for whom? Who benefited and who didn't? And if you start looking at those things in those terms, rather than simply accepting, as a blanket that they were tyrants, suddenly the whole argument begins to fall apart.
And another thing that I think it's important for people to look at is not just the American Revolution, but other instances where kings lose their crown, right? Because our emotions are all bound up in the American Revolution, and they're
No.
not bound up in some of these other things.
And
Is
never once, even when it's a monarchy like the Chinese or the Turkish that I wouldn't have wanted to live under,
yeah.
never once has a monarchy been replaced by anything better.
That's exactly what I was going to get to, Charles. So was France better off after the French Revolution? I mean, and this is kind of my question to all these people who are not monarchists. Was France better after the French Revolution?
Well, you know, the funny thing you say that, you know, that recently, in fact, over the past couple of days, the Duc d'Anjou, the heir to the French throne, Louis XX, as his supporters call him, issued two very, I thought, timely documents, two messages.
Hmm.
First on the Feast of St. Louis, and second, as much to the Americans as to the French, who defended the statue of St. Louis in St. Louis, Missouri. They're both very cogent, well argued, and showed a great understanding of where we are right now, an understanding oddly lacking from the declarations of our own leaders over here. But the nasty comments in response were things like, I guess the guillotine didn't get all you, huh?
No, it's actually coming for you because the revolution eats its children.
Well, he didn't say that. He didn't bother answering. But it was that level of stupid.
Yeah.
So to answer your question on behalf of the less intelligent among us, yeah, it was better because it was free. Because they killed their king so they were free.
Yeah, and that harkens back to the image I talked about several episodes ago, where we killed kings for this, and
Yeah.
it shows some degenerate image because of freedom to do this.
Yeah.
Um,
Freedom to twerk.
so you got France. Is Austria better without Karl?
No. No.
No. Whoa.
No.
Okay. Is
Russia.
Russia better now without
No.
its Oh. Okay.
Germany.
I mean, so
Portugal.
you look at the global perspective of this, and there are commonalities, shall we say?
There are, and then you turn around and you look back at ourselves, and you have to say, were we different alone from all the nations?
Right.
And that, of course, is what American exceptionalism is about, which ultimately has its roots in a religious idea.
That we're the chosen people?
We're the chosen people. We're Calvinists. We're the successors of the children of Israel. This is explicit with the Mormons. And it's true, every Calvinist people feel this way about themselves. We had our time under Pharaoh, which was in England. Then we made the Exodus across the ocean. We landed and had the first covenant, which was, of course, the Mayflower Compact. We subdued the Canaanites, the Indians, and the French, and then established the New Jerusalem, the shining city on the hill, the last best hope of mankind. That's possible. I mean, it's a religious dogma, so it would be, probably unkind, if not irreverent of me, to say it's wrong. It would be like my telling Unitarian that we believe in the Trinity. But what if American exceptionalism is one part Calvinism and one part post hoc ergo propter hoc? In other words, we're powerful and mighty because we were wonderful, not we were in a position to be wonderful simply because we were powerful and mighty. What if we became powerful and mighty not through our own virtue, but through a concatenation of historic circumstances that God saw fit to drop on us for purposes other than our perfection. Or to put this another way, when you see a rich man, did God make the man rich because he was excellent and wonderful? Or did he make the man rich so that he would have the ability to do good?
Mm. That's what Father Ripperger says a little bit, is, that we have a duty. We've been blessed with so many resources, and we're so rich. We have a duty to bestow that upon the rest of the world, and we've had such a corrupted version of that.
Well, his problem, of course, is that he isn't a Calvinist. Otherwise, he would understand that not only do we have all this stuff because we're wonderful, but we deserve it because we're great.
Okay. So we've touched on Aquinas. Let's get a Bellarmine quote in there, shall we?
You mean the founding father?
Yeah. Okay. So here we go. This is from On the Roman Pontiff, which is published by Mediatrix Press. Ryan Grant, who himself, Ryan Grant is a monarchist, is he not?
Yes, he is. But before you read that passage, I would remind you that there is a high school in Burbank, California, a Catholic high school not too far from you, attached to St. Robert Bellarmine Church, called Bellarmine Jefferson. Because we all know St. Robert Bellarmine inspired the Declaration of Independence, and Thomas Jefferson got all his ideas from him, and nothing from that evil, awful John Locke.
Got it.
All right.
All right, Bellarmine says, if monarchy is the best and most excellent government, as above we have shown, and it is certain that the Church of God, instituted by the most sapient Prince of Christ, ought to be best governed, who can deny that the government of it ought to be a monarchy? So he's saying the Catholic Church is a monarchy because Christ instituted it, and of course Christ is going to pick the best form of government. Why would he pick a tyrannical version of government? He's God.
Or a polity.
Or a polity, yeah. Why would he do that?
That seems pretty unkind of St. Robert Bellarmine. He couldn't have meant that.
And yeah, so I don't know how people are distorting the words of both of these saints, because they both quite clearly and explicitly say best and most excellent.
Well, see, the thing is, you can do that if you automatically identify a monarch and tyrant. Every monarch is a tyrant. And if you bear in mind that they both of them say that it's all right under certain circumstances to revolt against a tyrant. So, since every monarch is a tyrant, and Bellarmine and Aquinas say it's okay to overthrow a tyrant, therefore, Bellarmine and Aquinas are in favor of republics.
That's actually true. That actually is the argument and the logic.
Yeah, that's the logic. Mind you, it doesn't hold up under historical inquiry, but why should it? We're Americans. We don't need history. History is bunk, as Henry Ford said.
Okay. And while we're at it, I'm going to gratuitously quote Pope Pius VI.
Not a pope.
Yeah, a pope endorsing monarchy, because some people, people like quotes from popes. So,
well, they like them when they go the right way.
Well, when they go the right, yeah, that's right.
I've got a feeling.
Yeah, this is going to go the wrong way for a lot of people, unfortunately. Okay, so Pope Pius VI, after the King of France, Louis XVI, was executed by the French revolutionaries in 1793. So he says, the most Christian king, Louis XVI, was condemned to death by an impious conspiracy, and this judgment was carried out. We shall recall to you in a few words the ordering and motives of this sentence. The National Convention had no right or authority to pronounce it. In fact, after having abolished the monarchy, the best of all governments, it had transferred all the public power to the people which, guided neither by reason nor by counsels, forms just ideas on no point whatsoever. assesses few things in accordance with the truth, and evaluates a great many according to mere opinion, which is ever fickle and ever easy to deceive and to lead into every excess, ungrateful, arrogant, and cruel. Wow.
So let me get this straight. He didn't like the revolution?
That's correct.
Huh. But are you sure he was Catholic?
Pretty sure.
Well, maybe he didn't understand the rightful aspirations of the people.
It's possible. He hits the nail on the head, though, in the end, though, when in terms of analyzing democracy and how it works, how the people work, evaluating a great many things according to mere opinion, which is ever fickle and easy to deceive.
What is it? What is he talking about? The people are always right. That's why every 4 years we only elect the best man to be president.
Uh-huh.
There was a civil rights song that I learned when I was little from my parents, and it had a verse which speaks to this very issue. It goes, "What did you learn in school today, dear little boy of mine? What did you learn in school today, dear little boy of mine? I learned our government must be strong. It's always right and never wrong. Our leaders are the finest of men. We elect them again and again. And that's what I learned in school today. That's what I learned in school."
So, what I wanted to do with this segment, in addition to just making a point and showing these quotes, is I wanted to specifically arm monarchists with these quotes, so that when you see this discussion come up, you show these quotes and you say, why aren't you addressing this? Why are you ignoring this? Because these quotes, they're ignored in the same fashion that liberals ignore anything before Vatican II. You just discard because you have nothing to say. We have nothing to say about the Athanasian Creed or the Syllabus of Errors. So we're going to pretend they don't exist. And that's the same thing that's done with these quotes from from Aquinas and Bellarmine. There's no refutation, so we have to pretend they don't exist. But no, we have to pull back the curtain here. And you have to tell these people, why aren't you addressing these quotes?
There's another issue too, and that's simply longevity, in the sense that the first Catholic monarchy was Armenia in about 303 AD. Now, there were quote-unquote republics in Catholic Europe, but they were basically city-states, and they were not. Number one, they were all considered to be under a monarchical authority, the Holy Roman Emperor, or an authority like that. Even the Venetians. The Italian city-states, for instance, were believed to be under the Holy Roman Emperor. Now, they might fight him in terms of keeping their local liberties, but they did not believe themselves to be completely independent of a monarch, although they were to all intents and purposes. The first self-declared, completely independent, totally unconnected republic was our own. So, 303 AD to 1783 AD. That's a long time.
Yes, it is.
1783 to the present. It's not as long a time. And during that time, we fought, of course, the bloody civil war that brought the country into existence. Another bloody civil war that kept it in one. And now, what seems to be a build-up to something everyone's afraid of, the elephant in the room. Well, all I'm saying is, certainly length of and durability are an argument all on their own.